a disease that can be treated, but which still claims the lives of many women. Doctors say 1 in 8 women are diagnosed with breast cancer in their lifetime.
I was not even aware that I am having the challenge, breast cancer. But I thank God that I was knocked by a car. If it was not of that, I was not going to be aware that I have this challenge in me.
My name is Lillian Dube. I'm a cancer survivor. I had cancer 8 years ago. Now it's come back. It came back in 2000.
I was diagnosed with breast cancer. I think if I can get this treatment, it will give me a chance to see my 2 sons and my grandson growing.
As we all know, South Africa commemorates Women's Month in August. So in this month, we dedicate a few of our shows to women's health issues. And the first such issue we deal with in today's show is breast cancer. Yes, the most common cancer among women worldwide. We speak to an expert breast cancer specialist from Helen Joseph Hospital to learn about all aspects of this dreaded disease. We also have a cancer representative and no less than 3 breast cancer survivors to share their personal experiences of living with and surviving the cancer. Our other special guest is South Africa's First Lady to understand what the Tobeka cancer. So sit back, relax, and learn from this exciting show ahead. You can interact with us either via Twitter at SABC Health Talk or simply interact with us on our Facebook page, SABC Health Talk, or call us on the numbers that will be displayed on the screen a little later. I'm Dr. Seloma Daung, and this is Health Talk.
I'm Lorraine. I'm a mom to a very busy 20-month-old little girl. I'm a fashion designer. We decided to have a baby quite soon after we'd bought a house, and I just had my 30th birthday. When you're pregnant, you're very aware of your body. I just noticed a lump and I was like, I've got to go get this checked out. I went back to work. I sort of carried on with my day-to-day stuff. Got home and just wasn't even thinking about it. And then the phone call came. I was 33 weeks pregnant when I had the breast cancer diagnosis. And 3 weeks later, I delivered my baby. After that, I started 6 months of chemotherapy. Losing my hair was probably one of the most traumatic things. I think it was that moment when it made me realize that I was really sick. Because I'm in fashion, I dealt with it the best way I could, and I just learned to make turbans. Outwardly, I just didn't want to look sick. I mean, my husband is like super dad, and he was super dad when I was sick, because he just jumped in. When you're so young, you don't expect to have severe illnesses. This year, I've traveled so much since I've got back. It's crazy. I was like, this is crazy. This time last year, I was having chemotherapy, and now I'm like all over the world. I'm grateful every day that I can, be a mother to my daughter and be a wife to my husband. I just appreciate every day for what it is.
Now, to enlighten us on what this breast cancer is, it's a great pleasure for me to welcome Professor Carol Ann Ben. Now, Professor Ben is head of department at the Helen Joseph Breast Centre. Welcome to Health Talk, Prof.
Thanks. Carol, please. Okay.
Great stuff. And of course, next to her is Floy Venter. Floy Venter is the divisional manager at CANSA. Welcome to Health Talk, Floy.
Thank you.
All right. Let's start with you. Breast cancer.
Yeah.
Please just take us through what this thing is.
So I think this is a disease that knows no boundaries in terms of age, in terms of race, and it affects women. We see women 25 with breast cancer, and we see women with 90 with breast cancer. So the first thing to know is that 6 out of 10 ladies who get breast cancer have no risk factors whatsoever. So if you're a woman, you have breasts, whether you breastfed or not, you must check them because you can be at risk.
Right.
I think that, and your stats behind show that beautifully, as well as your inserts, young and old.
Talk about stats. Perhaps let's get cancer to. I mean, you deal a lot with people with cancer. I know that it's all sorts of cancers, but today we're talking breast cancer. Just from your experience, What are the sort of figures that you see, or what figures do we have actually?
If we talk about the latest from the South African National Cancer Registry,
Right.
It's about still, if we look at, for instance, in 2010, the figures for diagnosed, and we're talking pathologically confirmed, so it is histologically confirmed, it's about, in the age group 50 to 60, it's still extremely high. We're talking about 1,500. That's on the 1 year, and 2010, as I said. But what is very alarming is that the age group is not necessarily 40 and on or 50 and on, but in our younger people, in the age group 20 to 30. So we are very aware that we need to step up our awareness and not only concentrate on women later in life, because that's not the case anymore.
Yeah, so this is worrying. It's affecting more younger women.
I've seen 3 youngsters aged 26 at Helen Joseph in the last month who we've diagnosed all with not just small cancers but locally advanced cancers. So I think the message is, it's not about risk, family history, it's not about whether you're breastfed or not. As you check your breasts, you examine them once a month. If you've got a lump or something that you feel doesn't feel right, you must seek medical care. And we have very good care available in our government facilities, Chris Hani, Helen Joseph, Joburg, just to look at our Johannesburg region. And people must make use of these clinics, which are open clinics.
Okay, let's talk about, you spoke a little bit about lumps.
Yes,
okay, let's talk about the clinical
That's
symptoms
right.
now. Breast cancer,
Okay.
are there different types,
Sure.
for instance? Yeah.
So I think most cancers present as a painless lump, not a painful lump, and people don't present because they think that cancer should be painful. Breast cancer does not only need to present as a lump. Sometimes we see a red hot inflamed breast, which is an inflammatory cancer. Sometimes we see changes on the nipple. Sometimes we see people who present with lymph nodes in the glands. And the first thing is, we make a mistake of teaching people to lift their arm when we examine under their arm, and they must relax their arm so that they have a good idea. It's your body, it's your responsibility. I want to just also comment on the fact that so it usually presents as a lump, and 60% of people presenting with breast cancer in our country still present with cancers over 5 centimeters. That's why programs such as these, and what cancer does, and what we're going to see with foundations later, all foundations make a huge difference about increasing awareness and
but let's go back to that lump now.
Yeah.
I mean, not all lumps are breast cancer.
Right. Okay, but one of the common cancers we see in youngsters is something called a triple negative breast cancer, and that feels like a fibroadenoma. So I always say, you don't have eyes on your fingers. If you feel a lump, someone must come in and have something as simple as an ultrasound. You don't need a surgeon to make a diagnosis of a breast cancer. And it's not about cutting out things to find out what they are. So you do the sonar, and if you're worried, you do a core needle biopsy, and that's how you make the diagnosis. So the diagnosis is histological, which goes back to what was said about the cancer registry. We don't have a true incidence because we're doing incidence on people who are diagnosed. So the 2011 stats, it's on who is diagnosed. So there are people out there who may die of cancer who we don't know about.
Are there different types, stages, and that sort of thing?
So,
just take us
so breast
through that,
cancer is basically divided into early and a locally advanced stage. And I think that's another important message, is today I always say breast cancer is one of the nicer cancers to deal with, because most people, even with cancers elsewhere, have a good 10-year survival. So people mustn't not come in because the cancer is elsewhere or too big or it's too late. It's never too late. We see lots of people who present with advanced cancers because they leave it thinking it's going to kill them quickly, but it doesn't. It comes through the breast and it smells. So small cancers are treated often with surgery, but it's about the biology, it's about the behavior of the cancer that determines what it does. You can have a tiny cancer that has more chance of spreading elsewhere than a big, lazy cancer. So the thing is to make a histological diagnosis, understand the type, HER2 positive, triple negative, and once you know the type, you can then decide your treatment. Oncology is the umbrella. Everyone's going to get some form of oncology treatment, and under the umbrella is surgery and radiation that go together.
Do we know what causes cancer and who gets breast cancer in the first place?
what Dr. Ben said is so true, that there are some that get breast cancer without risk.
Yeah.
So that's absolutely not predetermined. But if we talk about very specific risk factors, is age. We know that in the higher age group, above 50, that there is more cancers. And that's unfortunately the age, the gender, and also, gender...
So when you say gender, you basically mean female?
Females, yeah.
Do men
female.
get breast cancer?
Absolutely.
Yeah, female. Well,
Yeah.
yeah. But
Okay,
not,
we'll ask the prof to just tell us about that a little bit. Yeah, so carry on, yeah.
and then if it runs in families, and obviously a very strong genetic part, but just about the family history, we all know about mothers, sisters, not brothers, but in any case, brothers can get it. But the age that is actually diagnosed, which will give an indication, which, if a mother was diagnosed at the age of 40 versus 80 or 70, there's a big, huge difference. The red flag is a bit more prominent. And then if we look at obesity, and also lack of exercise, those are things, age, gender, and genetics, we actually born with, and that is a given to us. But there are very specific things that we can look at in lifestyle, and specific things like obesity and lack of exercise. We know smoking. We know that there is and alcohol, and some of the latest studies are very, very clear of the influence of alcohol. That wasn't such a major factor many years ago, but also the exercise. Very, very, very strong. People who don't exercise versus people who do exercise, the studies are amazing.
And that becomes important for prevention, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, let's just hold it here because we need to go for a quick break. After the break, we now discuss living with breast cancer, and we speak to the South African First Lady. Stay with us.
Shield Medical Scheme, we don't just talk health, we do health.
So good, nothing else can replace just your slightest embrace. And if you only would be my own for the rest of my days, I will whisper this phrase, my darling, c'est bon.
MedShield Medical Scheme doesn't just cover you when you're ill, we'll help you stay well. If we're talking health, then let's talk seriously.
Africa is growing. As a result, it's also advancing the way it does things.
Any developments in technology can really do a lot to boost growth.
On Network, we'll show you how technology is improving the lives of Africans.
The life of an LED globe is 15 times longer than what they have currently.
We also have new gadgets, games, and the continent's innovative technology ideas. That's Network with Ms. Phumelele Zondi, every Sunday at 19:30 Central African Time.
Welcome back. It's a great pleasure for me to welcome South Africa's First Lady, Madam Tobeka Zuma, from the Tobeka Madiba-Zuma Foundation. Welcome to Health Talk, Madam
Thank you.
Tobeka.
Greetings to our viewers.
All right, thanks. And of course, next to her we have Colleen Smith. Colleen Smith is a breast cancer survivor. Welcome to Health Talk.
Thank you.
Okay. And another special guest is Pungi Baloi. also from the TMZ Foundation. She's the Goodwill Ambassador, but she's here because she's also a breast cancer survivor. Welcome to Health Talk now.
Thank you.
All right. Perhaps let's start with you, Pumi. Just tell us your story. When were you diagnosed with breast cancer?
Okay, I was diagnosed in November 2007.
Okay.
That was the first time.
So it's quite recent, isn't it? Yeah.
It's not recent, yeah. So I was in remission for all that time, but unfortunately this year I got re-diagnosed again with breast cancer, and I'm undergoing treatment again as we speak.
Okay. Tell us about, let's go back to 2007 now. How did you pick up that you had a problem?
I started noticing changes on my breast. But because at that time I didn't have much information, I didn't know what to look out for breast cancer. It wasn't even painful, so I just ignored the signs. But it kept on for a while, and then I decided this can't be normal. I have to do something about this. So I went to a doctor, who unfortunately the first doctor dismissed me, to say no, it can't be breast cancer. I went home. But at the back of my mind, I knew that there was something wrong, you know. My breast didn't look like this. There was definitely something wrong. So I went to see another doctor, and I told them, listen, I've been to a doctor, and she said it's nothing. Can I please have further tests done? And she did take me to a mammogram, which confirmed that, and a biopsy that confirmed that I did have the breast cancer. I underwent chemotherapy. I had a surgery. I had radiation. That was all in 2008.
So you had surgery to remove the one breast?
I had a partial mastectomy.
Partial, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, and I was on a 5-year treatment, tamoxifen, for 5 years. And I was, you know, end of 2008, I was declared cancer-free. And I had a long and healthy 5 years.
Yeah. I know this is not the kindest thing for a man to do, but you obviously look a little young as compared to Colleen. Do you mind asking how old you were when you were diagnosed with breast cancer?
Okay, the first time I had just turned 30 when I was diagnosed with the,
Okay. All right.
So now again at 39 I got re-diagnosed. And it was on a routine checkup, you know. I go every year to do my mammograms, and they picked up something.
And how did it impact your life, the fact that you were diagnosed with breast cancer?
It's really made me more aware and more to want to share my story, because I think there's still stigma around it, especially within the black people, the black communities. You know, people shy away from going to the doctors, or they're scared that if I've got cancer, immediately I'm going to die. You know, there's hope out there, there's doctors, there's treatments available for people to get help, and the most important thing is early detection. You know, so that's my message, that's what I'm always trying to drive home, to say there's hope, early detection, know your body. And the things that we always speak about is the foundation, you know, of eating right, of exercising, you know, trying to promote a healthy lifestyle generally, and people to know what cancer is.
Very true. Okay, let's get over to Colleen. Colleen, just tell us your story. How old were you when you were diagnosed with breast cancer?
I had just turned 60 at the end of 2010, and about a week later I was due for a regular mammogram, and I thought, oh, I'm too busy, you know, 2010 was an exciting year. And I thought if I could just go on a particular day, I would, and could get the mammogram for that day, I would go, which is what I did, and they detected a tiny little lump that hadn't been there the year before.
Right.
And so there was the biopsy, and then I didn't hear anything for quite a few days, and I thought, oh, well, if it is cancer, you get told fairly quickly. And then I got the call early one morning to say, I'm sorry, but it's a malignant carcinoma. And so I said, well, what do we do now? And so she said, well, I can recommend somebody. Do you want to see somebody? And I said I wanted to see Carol Ben, because I'd heard her speaking a couple of years before on a program. And so I went through the whole process. And my left breast was removed. My right breast, you see, it's 5 years.
One of the
and
breasts,
I can't even remember.
Right. Yeah.
that's what it gets like. So it was, so, and I chose not to have reconstruction. Okay. And so my thing is, I like to be able to help others also and say that it's not the end of the world. Right. I'm doing all the things I used to do, and yeah.
Okay. Madam Tobeka, let's just understand, first of all, what does the Tobeka Madiba-Zuma Foundation, what do you do? I believe that you're a patron and founder of the foundation, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I think the foundation is out there to help our people to be aware about the disease called breast cancer and cervical cancer. We chose those two, female cancers, because they are the two leading cause of death among our women, not only in our country, but in Africa and the globe. And the foundation educates our women about the disease, because often they die not from the disease, but from the lack of knowledge. We focus mainly in the rural areas, because that's where our women have got limited access to information, and they've got limited access to even the screening services and the places where they can go if they need help. So apart from that, we also now advocate for them to have equitable access to screening services, because we believe that a woman should not be defined by her geographic location in our country in order to have access to the basic services, in one of them that's going to save their lives, and screening for these diseases. But not only that, we also advocate for them to have access to treatment on time. A woman cannot be diagnosed and then 6 months later, only then does she get put on treatment, because it's like you've got this dark cloud hanging over your head. You've been told that you've got breast cancer, but you're not put on treatment. So we ensure that our women are put on treatment on time. But not only that, we're no longer talking about treatment only, but we need life-saving treatment. That's not going to just prolong her life. But we're also very strong in our education on prevention, right, which means limiting the risk of getting the disease, what it is that our women need to do in order to limit the risk, and that is the factors that have been outlined by even the previous speakers, and that is to exercise, to also deal with obesity, because it's very high in our country, and to educate our people about how to eat and nutritious food, to plant vegetables, eat healthy, and lead healthy lifestyles. Exercise, I exercise as well. I've just recently done 10 kilometers.
Oh, and that's nice.
Yes, to keep fit, and to ensure that they also look out and know their bodies, and look out for any signs that they may potentially see. But what is dangerous about the disease is that when it starts showing signs, that it's a bit far down the line. So we ensure that our women are empowered with the knowledge and information on what to do. One of the things that we educate them about is to do the breast self-examination. Right. They don't need to even go to a healthcare setting, but to feel their breasts, and feel their breasts at least not less than 5 days before their menstrual period, because that's when they're going to get these false readings. And once they pick up any lumps, we also try and empower them with the information that it could not be cancerous. It could be just a benign, which is not cancerous.
And I guess education becomes quite important, especially in dealing with things like myths. I believe that there's lots of myths around breast cancer. What has been your experience insofar as that is concerned?
We come across many. We come across many myths that, we come across first in the rural areas with issues of witchcraft. That if anything goes wrong with a woman, if she has anything wrong with her breast, it's the neighbor, it's witchcraft. And but we try and deal with those by ensuring that, our education is inclusive of men and women. And the myths that, if my breast is not the same as the other, there could be something wrong with it, but just they dismiss it. They put it aside and say, no, I'm going to think about it later. But the foundation has decided to say, unapologetically, let us put women at the center of everything, because often women tend to put themselves last on the list of priorities, their health in particular. And yet, once the woman is no longer in that home, it doesn't function properly, because they are cornerstones of their homes. So we ensure that we involve men as well, because they need to even seek permission from their husbands to go and have their breasts touched by other people.
Madam Tobeka-Zuma, founder of the TMZ Foundation, thank you so much for your time. Colleen Smith, Pongi Baloyi, thank you so much for sharing your story. We just need to go for a quick commercial break. After the break, we now focus on prevention and screening. Please stay with us.
Embracing our members in good health since 1968. MedShield Medical Scheme, we don't just talk health, we do health.
It's Macro's 45th Big Birthday Bash, and our gift to you is big savings. Get the Samsung 55-inch Smart SUHD TV for only 16,999, save 5,000 Rand. Or the Russell Hobbs stainless steel food processor, only 899, save 700 Rand. And save 500 Rand on the Tefal 7-piece non-stick cookware set, now only 999. Get these and many other great deals in-store and online with Macro's Big Birthday Bash. Macro, big on life.
Well, they haven't.
No, they haven't.
Do you know why?
Well, we wouldn't know. Firstly, we'll ask.
I can tell you.
Why?
They say you're selling out.
Why?
Well, I guess that's a question you need to engage them.
Why would the African Union try and separate human rights and women's rights?
Women's rights are indeed human rights.
So we need to be asking ourselves, what kind of society are we? What kind of family structures do we have where parents, where fathers turn on their daughters?
If a policeman, is seen to be accessing psychological services, couldn't that be seen as a sign of weakness?
People are waiting for somebody to discover them.
Absolutely.
And that's not everybody's story, am I right? I mean, there's so many of us who can be the best and stars, but you can't sit there and wait for somebody to say, I think what you're doing is great.
Which are so different to his past.
I really wish I could say thanks to him. And mind you, I'm the man. I make coffee and I'm proud of it.
For your daily dose of current affairs, tune in to the SABC News Channel.
A disease that can be treated, but which still claims the lives of many women. Doctors say 1 in 8 women are diagnosed with breast cancer in their lifetime. Now, medical research has led to the manufacture of a device which can detect the illness at an early stage, even in women with dense breast tissue, which previously made it difficult to detect the disease.
Women in their 40s typically have slightly denser breasts. In fact, about 40% of women have dense breasts, and that density can sometimes mask a cancer that will be missed by x-rays. So if you only do an x-ray and you're looking at women with dense breasts, there's a good chance you're going to miss that cancer. And if that happens and the woman comes back 2 or 3 years later, then the cancer could have grown.
Those in the medical field have hailed the device as an innovative tool.
The women that we do see on daily basis, the thing is this, most women do not even know the early symptoms of cancer. Now it will make them aware because we will teach them, we will screen them early and perhaps do the referrals to them.
The imaging system has also been welcomed in the science and technology fraternity.
We are hopeful that this Cape-Ray ASICO machine will become part of the public health system, because we would like to see South African innovations being utilized throughout our various systems, be they technology for education, for health purposes.
Clinical trials will be done with 50 volunteers and 20 patients with confirmed breast cancer and will be tested on the latest innovation later this month. The clinical trial is an important step to make the machine more accessible. Carmel Lochemerk-Roberts, SABC News, Cape Town.
Welcome back. Now, it is said that the best way to fight breast cancer is to detect the disease in its early stages, and clearly prevention is always better than cure. And here to take us through that is, we welcome back Prof. Carol and Ben, head of department at the Helen Joseph Breast Centre, And of course, we welcome back Floy Fenter, who's a divisional manager at CANSA. Okay, perhaps let's start with you. I mean, we just said prevention is always better than cure. What do you do as CANSA to spread the message of prevention of breast cancer?
Within CANSA, we have very specific programs. One of the programs is with our mobile clinics, where we go out into rural areas and deep rural areas to bring the message to people who actually doesn't know, or to eliminate myths. Because the myth that if you believe it's only a person's disease, then you don't even check your breast, you don't even look at them, you don't even touch them, doesn't matter what's going to happen. So part of it is to get the message to people who really do not have any other form of knowledge, or televisions or radios or whatever. And then also at schools and at corporates, we actually go and teach people the risk factors, because everybody should know about to eliminate myths around breast cancer, to do breast self-examination. It has nothing to do with a diagnosis. This breast self-examination is for the lady to understand and know how her breast feels, because then she will pick it up very, very soon. And as we've heard now right through this session, that to find or diagnose or detect breast cancer early is of utmost importance, because we know in people who don't do breast examinations, or is not aware of the signs and symptoms, it's diagnosed late. And late diagnosis almost equal poor outcome and higher mortality.
Yeah. There was a time when it was said that, self-examination is not something very useful. Just comment on that, please.
So the thing is, health economics rules the world. So if we look at the studies, it would be fabulous if we could do screening mammograms, and it's exciting to see such excellent developments out of South Africa about how to screen and test. So it would be wonderful if everyone from 40 could have yearly mammograms. But it's about crunching the health economic numbers. So throughout the world, they've said that screening has not decreased the number of locally advanced, which you will never decrease locally advanced, because people in a screening environment to get a piece of paper to say go and choose not to go are the same people who drink and drive and don't wear their seatbelts. It means that you know the rules, but you choose not to. That's a psychological decision. I think that South Africa does not need and does not have money for mammogram rollout screening programs, but we do need to educate, and as you've heard numerous times.
Well, talk about mammogram then.
Yes.
Then what is the recommendation in terms of
So
how often, from what age, and so on?
So the international recommendation is 52 yearly now. It used to be 40, but it's a health economic decision. So we do see people with cancers in their 40s to 50s, lots, and we see people under 40 years, you've heard and you've seen on the show, with breast cancer. So I think that we mustn't look at what we can and can't do. There are many mammogram machines in this country. Question is how they're utilized and the access to people who don't have access to mammogram machines. The question is, again, and you've heard, education, examine your breast. If you've got a problem, you must be able to access the correct service, the government service, not the wrong service. Because for people to go for a bad mammogram or a rolled out mobile mammogram and then not know what to do if they're told what to do is actually harder for them. How do they access a service? So we need open clinics, which we have. We need examine your breast. If you've got a problem, come in. We need to, as you've heard, decrease obesity, change what you can change, what you can't change, accept. Okay.
How reliable are these mammograms?
So,
you hear of false positives and false negatives and
absolutely,
so on.
with everything, because the thing is, a mammogram is going to depend on the density of your breast tissue. A mammogram is going every single year. So if you have a one-off mammogram and you've got dense breast, you might not see the cancer. It's like looking for a predator in the bush. The more thick the bush is, the harder it is to see the line. Okay. If you've got savanna, it's easy. Okay. So it's about going every year so you can see change, change in calcifications. So I think we must step away from that and just make people aware of their bodies. And as you've heard, if you are concerned about a change, you need to be able to access a multidisciplinary, good service where there's specialists who know what to do. Okay.
Then there's a concept of genetic testing.
That's right.
Which I don't like personally,
Okay.
but this is not
All right.
about me. Yeah,
Okay.
but I'd like
Well,
you to
I'm going
comment
to tell
on
you
that.
that medically we're not really good at genetic testing, and you need to test index cases. So what we heard earlier is young cancers in people less than 40, but it's not just on the mother side, it's on the mother and the father side, and also men with breast cancer. So men can get breast cancer, and we actually have one of the highest incidents in the world in this country. So I think if you have got lots of people in the family and you've got cancers under the age of 40, the person with the cancer should go for the genetic test. There should be an index case. Just routinely testing people, and negative means nothing, because in the US now where they're routinely testing under 40, they're only picking up 8% of BRCA, because it's not one gene or one deletion. Sometimes getting cancers is a bit like a lotto, a reverse lotto of all the wrong things landing into the wrong row. So it's a combination of environment and genetics that are going to result in a cancer. So I agree with you. I think we must be careful not to over-test, and it must be done through specialist unit where people are well counselled, and it should be done on people with cancer.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, not everybody has access to mammograms and that sort of thing. So as CANSA, obviously you reach out to people. I know that you spoke about, self-examination and so on. But just tell us a little bit about, what you then suggest to people. What do you say they must do when they see something perhaps wrong with one of their breasts and so on?
We refer them to the closest centre. So we in CANSA also have like a GPS system with maps. In our mobiles, we have a mapping system so that if we pick up something that we are concerned about, we will immediately refer to the closest clinic. And the most wonderful services that I can only thank and say the services from Dr. Ben in Johannesburg, for instance, the walk-in clinics where anybody can just walk in.
Right.
And it is, and Baragwana, where people can walk in. It's absolutely wonderful. So the facilities in the closer areas in Gauteng is absolutely amazing.
Right.
And they're there, people need to be made aware of it. So we are there to, within our prevention and early detection programs, is absolutely the GPS system to actually refer them to the closest.
Let's take a call from Tessa. Tessa, welcome to Health Talk.
Thank you very much for welcoming me.
Mm-hmm.
I just have input regarding the topic on this breast cancer.
Yes.
I once went for a biopsy, this needle biopsy,
Yeah.
and I couldn't go through with it because they were poking the needle into your breast. And I was like, totally shocked, because I think they should rather use sedation so that you don't actually feel or see the needle going into your breast.
Okay.
I think that is why most of the ladies or the women just rather not go for the biopsy.
All right. Thank you. Very important point.
Okay, so definitely I pick up the stress and anxiety that she's gone through, and I'm going to encourage her. We would love to see you at the breast clinic at Helen Joseph. Not everyone needs a biopsy, and you can give local first. Some people are severely needle phobic and scared, and often going with somebody, and yes, we can give sedation, we can give you something. The correct thing is not to operate and to take away the fear. It's no different from having a blood test done. So we want to say to people, come. People must be well counseled before they have anything, a blood test or a biopsy, and often the failing is on our healthcare, and we should take responsibility for it, for not counselling and taking away fear.
Great stuff. Okay. Time for a quick break. After the break, we discuss now treatment and support. Please stay with us. So.
MedShield Medical Scheme doesn't just cover you when you're ill, we'll help you stay well. If we're talking health, then let's talk seriously.
From the moment you start your day.
My biggest question is how I got myself here on time. Yeah. This is so early for a comedian, I gotta be honest.
We are there for you. We bring your morning into perspective.
As news breaks throughout the morning, is an investment into the future of the airports company, but also the future of our children, the future of our country, the future of the transport sector.
We'll make sure that you get the full story.
Give us quality music.
Load shedding. Listen, this winter.
It's a thing of the past. And you can count on the weather team with expertise.
Join us live at 6 a.m. daily.
Now this is Trends, of course, your one-stop serving of all that's juicy and trending in the world of entertainment and showbiz. My name, of course, is Refiel Wemwilo.
I'm Dr. Sello Mutaung, and this is Our Talk.
A very good morning and welcome to Media Monitor. I'm your host, Alicia Jolly.
My name is Dumile Matez.
William Mulebati.
My name is Mpo Sedu. What time is it? It's question time.
For your daily dose of current affairs, tune in to the SABC News Channel.
Breast cancer is one of the major killers throughout both the developed and developing world. In South Africa, breast cancer is the leading form of cancer affecting women. Between 20 and 30% of breast cancer patients are HER2 positive, which is a particularly aggressive strain of cancer. Women with this type of cancer require a specific medicine called Herceptin.
My cancer is called HER2 positive, which is treated by Herceptin. It's an essential treatment which fights my type of cancer.
However, many women in South Africa who need Herceptin cannot access it due to its high price. The Treatment Action Campaign, together with other partners, picketed outside the UN hearings. The picket was supported by many activists and organizations globally.
I'm Spongile Chabalala. I'm the Deputy General Secretary of TAC, and we are here outside in this rain because we are saying we want access to medication. We have to put down our foods to say we can't afford more women of dying because of no treatment for cancer. That treatment will be in a patent, under patent, so people are dying.
In the private sector, a 12-month course of Herceptin costs approximately 500,000 or more if higher dosing is required. Herceptin is recommended as an essential medicine by the World Health Organization for HER2 positive breast cancer. Yet, its high cost means the majority of women in South Africa who need it will never access it. As with Joyce, who was diagnosed with cancer in 2008 after she was involved in a car accident.
They diagnosed me when I was going through treatment. It's then that they diagnosed me with cancer. Okay, I was not even aware that I am having the challenge, breast cancer. But I thank God that I was knocked by a car. If it was not of that, I was not going to be aware that I have this challenge in me. I asked my doctor and I told him that, you know what, I have a problem with my breast because now my changile, and the left one was bigger and dark and there was reddish discharges that is coming out from it. And in my mind, I was telling myself that maybe it's one of the side effects of being knocked by a car, and I didn't take it so much into consideration.
The only thing that she can do to feel better is to clean her wound and take medication, as she also can't afford Herceptin.
The wounds, it's a bit challenging. It's a bit challenging because it's painful. I live with the pain. And recently experiencing the stomach cramps. So it's not an easy thing to deal with this disease. It's very challenging, it's very demanding, it's a very cruel disease.
A lack of access to essential medicine in both rich and poor countries has been one of the key themes of the global dialogues conducted in London and Johannesburg by a United Nations high-level panel on access to medicine.
Welcome back. Now, to tell us more about, treatment and support of breast cancer, we welcome back Prof. Carol Ann Ben, HOD of the Breast Centre at Helen Joseph Hospital. And we also joined by Stephanie from the Reach for Foundation.
For Recovery.
Reach for Recovery, correct. Reach for Recovery. Welcome to Health Talk.
Thank you so much.
All right. Perhaps let's start with you. I believe that you say we spoke just now earlier off air, that you also had breast cancer about 17 years ago.
Yes, I was diagnosed 17 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's been a long journey. And I'm with an organization called Reach for Recovery.
Right.
And the amazing thing about Reach for Recovery is you walk in as feeling like a victim.
Yeah.
Needing support.
Right.
And then as you continue your journey, you actually become a victor giving support to others.
Right.
So that's the beauty of the
I'll ask you a bit later
organization.
about that support, but let's come back to treatment. Now, let's talk principles now. We're now talking about somebody who's been diagnosed with breast cancer.
So the principles are the diagnosis should not be made by a surgeon, but by a core needle biopsy in a radiology suite. Then in terms of treatment principle, I always say the umbrella is oncology. And oncology is a fancy word that means drugs to treat cancer. It's no difference that you use certain things for malaria and TB drugs for TB. It's a group of medications. It can be chemo, it can be targets, it can be tablets, it can be hormones to treat cancer. Under the umbrella, and I always put oncology's umbrella to protect you from the reign of cancer because it reigns supreme. No one's ever going to die of cancer in the breast. They will die of things going elsewhere. The local treatment under the umbrella is surgery and radiation. And there's specific indications for certain types of surgery, and there's specific indications for radiation, which is local X-ray treatment.
Yeah. Does surgery mean removing an entire breast?
Not at all. Not at all.
Part of the breast, what does it mean?
Not at all. It means taking the cancer out with a rim of normal tissue. I always say breast cancer surgery is for blondes. There are only two rules. Take the cancer out with a clear margin, and that is chosen within each unit, and make sure that you've checked what's going on in the drainage lymph nodes. Because cancer in the breast is like prisoners within a prison, and those glands are your security guards that protect you from it going elsewhere. And today we don't have to take out all the glands because we know they are prognostic. That means they determine the behavior of the cancer. If it's trying to break out of the prison, we know it's behaving like a bad prisoner, and that's why we need to know what's going on in the glands. And there's certain rules for radiation, and what holds surgery and radiation together, I always say, is good reconstruction, which is a choice for women to choose or not to choose, but they must have a right to have it discussed with them prior to starting treatment. So no such thing as an emergency mastectomy. Any surgeon says you need your breast off as an emergency or both your breasts, which is even more wrong, as cancer doesn't jump from one breast to another, then the message is that you should go and look elsewhere.
So you say surgery and radiology, radiotherapy work together as a
local treatment, local regional treatment,
okay.
Yes.
So there's no such thing as you can only have radiotherapy, but sorry, you can't be operated.
Sometimes in our locally advanced cancers, they never get to surgery and we just radiate for control. It was heartbreaking to hear the lady talking about her ulcers and her wounds, and we see that. And that's why our job of education is so important. So in those scenarios where we can't operate, and it's usually after chemo, and you see that she had chemo, then we give radiation only. But
let's talk a little bit about chemo.
Yeah.
We're told that this is something not pleasant for anybody.
All right, so chemotherapy, I always say, it's a bit like TB treatment. Going through any treatment I don't think is pleasant. I think of lots of the people who are going on HIV medication. I know on the rare occasions I've had to take as prophylaxis, it's not easy, okay. So what we need to know is that it's a bit like a pregnancy. We must stop with all this nonsense of all these scary stories, etc. And people should speak to people who have been through the treatment. There are many different chemotherapy regimes. It's not like it was 20 years ago, where we used to have people in isolation. A lot of chemos can be chemo tablets, and there's certain treatments for 3 months or 6 months. They come as groups of medicines together for best efficacy. And then we have fancy target treatments, like we saw in your insert, such as Herceptin, which play Pac-Man with cancer cells.
Yeah.
They go and they kill the cells.
Herceptin, is it available? I mean, you in the public sector at Helen's, is it available?
No, only to our patients on trials. Unfortunately, we recently had a biosimilar trial, which is medicine similar to Herceptin, and all our patients we operated had a complete response to their chemotherapy. It is so important that our people have access to these medications. But again, it's health economic decisions, and we need to see where the rules are taken. I think government must play an important role in accessing these medicines quicker into our systems, and they must make the decisions about who pays what.
All right. Okay. Stephanie, let's come back to you now and learn a little bit about what you do. So you take over from the minute somebody is told that she requires surgery, correct?
Yes, we visit the patient on the request of the doctor, the surgeon.
Right.
Or the patient herself. I just want to touch on what Carol said earlier. She said it's criminal for the basically for the patient to just have emergency surgery, and this is when Reach for Recovery was actually started 63 years ago, when our founder Therese Lasser woke from surgery and found her breast removed and bandaged like a mummy, and that was the start of Reach for Recovery, reaching out to women to give them answers to questions and help them cope with this dreadful disease.
So is it only, do you only give support to those that require surgery?
No, to anyone requesting it. Basically how it works, the hospital or the doctors would call us and say, please visit this patient in hospital, she's just had surgery. It can also be before the operation. Pre-operatively, which is ideal. Then you get to actually establish a bond with the patient, and she can see before going into theatre that there is life after cancer, I can get well too. So, and then our call centres, I call it call centres, they match a volunteer or find a volunteer to visit the patient in hospital. She's taken a care kit that we call. She's given a bag for the drain. She's given a temporary breast prosthesis. She's given literature. And most importantly, she's giving a living example of hope and recovery in the volunteer.
Do breast cancer patients call in to chat to you as well?
They do, and the support is ongoing. And we're on the website, and they find us and they ask for help for their mothers, sisters, friends, and we get referrals from all areas.
Okay.
I think what's important
let me give you the last 30 seconds because we're out of time.
What's important is with the puppy law, I think we must make everything available to patients, because we can't, in the old days, just send people in to speak to people in the ward. So what we do is we have brochures and handouts, etc. My last 30 seconds, it's your body. Go for second opinions, question your doctors, do not be scared, take responsibility and seek help.
Great stuff. Well,
thanks.
Prof. Carol and Ben, Head HOD, Helen Joseph Breast Centre, Stephanie Classend, correct?
Jacobs.
Sorry, Stephanie Jacobs, sorry, from Reach for Recovery. Thank you so much for your contribution. Thank you for your time. Folks, it's on that note that we come to the end of our show today. Please join us again next week. SABC News, same time. A reminder to please share your views and comments with us on Facebook and, SABC Health Talk, and follow us on Twitter at SABC Health Talk. Remember that you can watch a repeat of this show at 2 o'clock today and again Thursday morning at 5 o'clock. Thank you so much for your calls. Thank you for watching. I'm Dr. Selim Matang. Please do take care.